everyone, and welcome again to MotorWay. Today, things you should be looking for when you're purchasing a new car or used at all. So, I bought a couple of cars back in the day. I've either bought it from used, private sale, or from a dealer. But from a dealer could be a little sketchy, and buying it from somebody else is even worse. But you take what you can get. I have said in my other videos before that buy the car that you want to buy. I say that again. Buy the car you want to buy, but things you should be looking for. So get a full Carfax on it. You can go online, you can search up the VIN number, see if it was stolen, see if it was wrecked or salvaged or anything else, and get a detailed description of it. And also your insurance company is find out, if it is more likely to be stolen, or so that way your insurance goes up. And sometimes the color, all plays a factor in it. So again, get a good description of it. And things you should be looking for is, if somebody has kept up to date with all of their maintenance, so changing spark plugs, changing all the fluids, changing the tires, changing the brakes, the pads, every little thing that should be changed, and then if they did it. And if not, then, something may go wrong sooner or later. But then again, that goes for any other car that you buy. Any car used you buy, something can go wrong. Hell, even new, something can always go wrong. So things you should be looking for is, whether the owner's taking care well of the car. Like, say for instance, this Ford Mustang GT in front of me. This 2009, 2008, somewhere around there. Sure, he takes good care of his car, and he's done a little modification work to it. But is it to the point where it's too much? And that's another thing you have to be looking for, is if they put in so much work to it, then that means all those parts that they put into it, something else can go wrong. And when that part goes wrong, it's going to be a lot of money to fix. So again, some things you should look for is take a look under the engine bay. So take a good look at the engine. The things to note for is if there are suspicious markings from wreckers, auto wreckers. That means they bought the part used and it's been, had a little wear and tear. So the way to look for that is markings. So you'll find a yellow chalk marking sometimes in an engine part, or even suspension, or wherever. You'll find it there sooner or later in any other car. So that's something to look for, is did they buy their parts new or used from an auto wrecker? And if they bought it used, again, that just kind of diminishes the value of the car, where they were putting in cheap parts because they didn't have the money to buy new. And sometimes some parts are okay to buy used, but some things you want to buy new, like buying a car battery. You never want to buy used because you don't know if it can hold the charge that well. I mean, yes, you can go to places and find out whether or not it holds a charge, but you would prefer to have new because that battery is going to last you a long, long time. So other things to look for is get underneath the car, look at the frame of the car, the body, just see if there's any extra body welds, to know if it ever had its frame cracked, or the axle cracked, or any little minor thing that could have been cracked, and they just patch weld it and then it's good to go, just like that. It's something you should seriously look for. And another one is the paint job. Some people don't take care of the paint job. I know I haven't taken care of this paint job, but it's just, it was a falling out with my car, really. I stopped taking care of the car after it stopped taking care of me. That was plain and simple. But apart from that is look at the paint job to see if some of the colors don't match. So if the rear bumper was a little bit of a different color than the rest of the car, then maybe that person had a minor fender bender, or even it might have been a major one, but they didn't want to tell you about it, so they just bought a new bumper, slapped it on, and it's all good to go. Now, apart from that, it's just are those sensors in the rear bumper or even the taillights, were they broke? Do they still, retain its value and everything like that? Does it hold the water out? Is there any condensations in the taillight? Minor things you should be looking for, even major things. Recalls, I've said before, is another major thing you should be looking for. So, say for instance my car, so a 2004 Grand Prix, search up recalls, and there was plenty of recalls and still going on with recalls. If you think it's too much for you, then don't buy it. It's as simple as that. If it was minor recall here and there, then, it's not so bad. I mean, there are plenty cars that have recalls on it. It could be minor or it could be major. But some of the times it's just major. But it does seem like it's a little major thing. It could be like airbag doesn't detonate properly, or it doesn't inflate properly, and it's like, well, that's kind of a major and minor thing. A minor thing is if you never got in an accident the rest of your life and then never will. Well, again, they call them accidents for a reason, because it's just an accident. And you don't plan on having them. So that's something that could go wrong. Is all the thing that's going on with VW, their emissions tests. They've been changing their emissions for their diesel cars and everything. Do you want to trust a company like that? I mean, yeah, they've made some really good gasoline cars, but their diesel cars now, they're just saying that, yeah, we changed the emissions a little bit and tampered with it, and that's kind of a really big thing. And other things to look for, like minor interior things, is make sure all the lights work, make sure all the buttons work, make sure AC and heater, and your sunroof if you've got one. One button to put in, pop up the rear and then close it again. Simple as that. And if you were opening up your sunroof, does it shake? Does it water leak in? And another thing to look for is when you're in the interior, look around the water, like on the floor there, or even in the rear, or even in the doors. Open up the door sometimes and hear if you see, see if you hear some sloshing in the door. That means, all the sealant's gone, weather stripping. Everything could go wrong, has probably gone wrong. So don't take the owner's word for it, take your own word for it. If you have a mechanic or know a mechanic or know a friend who knows a thing or two about cars, get them to have a look at it. He might not have special tools like your friend, like the mechanic might have, but your friend might know something about cars, like, yeah, this one engine fires, the transmission was going in and out, the engine's not so well, things like that your friend might know of, or even a quick Google search. That's as simple as that. So I say to you and everyone that will be watching is do your research. Find a car that you want, and then find out which kind of year you want, but try to get some background on that car to see if there's the recall, see if there's parts that will go wrong on it. Hell, even have a little savings fund for something that could go wrong later on, and you have the money to get it fixed right away. Or even if, like, you buy a car with a water pump that's just about to go out. Well, then I've got the spare money, and then invest it. It's simple as that. But all in all, do your research, and hopefully you buy the car that you like. All in all, thank you very much for watching MotorWay. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.